Pursuit of Wisdom, my scientific chapter. I produced 12 books and 40 articles about society in my 82 years of life. Reason, the sciences, and faith, spirituality, are compatible. It's a myth that Christianity was not supportive of the sciences. In fact, many of the Christian monks created the sciences, especially in the area of biology. The Earth is perfectly positioned in our galaxy, the Milky Way, in what's known as a habitable zone, according to scientific discoveries reported in a book called The Privileged Planet. The Earth ecosystem is like a delicate living organism. Isn't it beautiful? The authors, Gonzalez and his partner, Richards, said that the Earth is perfectly positioned. If it was not exactly where it is, one should realize that life could not exist. It would be too hot, too cold, or too much radiation. Supernova, which is exploding stars. Supernova is the only source of carbon which is required for all living things. You might say all creatures, including humans, are made from stardust. So, St. Augustine had the answer to one of my childhood questions. I asked a nun, a very old nun, what was God doing before he created the universe? She said he was creating hell for children like you who ask such ridiculous questions. Well, decades later, about a decade later, I was reading St. Augustine. He said, past, present, and future doesn't exist outside of the universe. God is outside the universe. He is the eternal now. There's no past, present, and future. So we have Earth, stars and suns, galaxies, and universe in the hierarchy. Astrology led to astronomy, which 1,000 years later led us to physics, and then on to other scientific theories. Here's a fantastic paper that was presented that shocked the world. It was presented by Brandon Carter in 1973 at a conference. And the conclusion was the physical, chemical, biological laws of the universe and nature are so amazingly fine-tuned, they could not have possibly occurred by pure chance. Let's talk about the cosmic days of creation. The Earth was created in 6 cosmic days, not in 6 actual days. Clearly, the sun did not exist, so how can we say it's 6 Earth days? So, the Big Bang is when the universe was formed, about 15 billion years ago, give or take. Galaxies and stars, about 7 or less billion years ago. Then the Earths and oceans, the ecosystem and creatures. And then we had the Cambrian explosion, where whole new creatures came into being. The primary source of this is The Science of God by Gerald Schroeder. The times are in billions of years. Let's elaborate a little bit more. So beginning and end times are in billions of years in the past, and this amplifies on what I just said. You had the Big Bang, when clouds of gases, hot gases, and elementary particles were formed. Time, matter, energy, gravity, and space were created. The galaxies formed, moving rapidly apart from each other. Then the earth, moon, water, early life, bacteria in the form of bacteria and algae, and the atmosphere was created, and the ozone layer, which protects us, and the electromagnetic shield, which is within the core of the earth, which also protects us. So that's the inorganic exterior objective truths. The organic interior are the period of bacteria and the development of ecosystems, multi-cell organisms and initial species, the massive extinction of dinosaurs and most creatures, the destruction of the species from comets and asteroids, then the Cambrian explosion, where 50 new body plans were created. And they all show evidence of intelligent design. And finally, microevolution of all species, plants, and animals. So I adapted. Schroeder came to the same conclusion as I did, but he had more details in terms of timing. Now, this is called Kepler 452b, as illustrated by NASA. It's dubbed Earth 2.0. It's 6 billion years old, has 385 days per year. It orbits a star roughly the same distance as our planet. It's 1,400 light years away. It's so like Earth that NASA believes it's possible that life once inhabited this planet. So there are other planets out there. The foremost ideas are listed here. I go into details in my book. Copernicus found the Earth revolves around the Sun. Kepler established the laws of planetary motion. Descartes gave us the discourse on scientific methods, and so on. Newton, of course. And then my book discusses the fundamental equations that had a significant impact on the world and our technologies today. And all this improved human existence. Newton's laws, Einstein's laws, Maxwell's laws, etc., etc. Climate change, which I discussed briefly earlier, the last ice age ended about 10,000 years ago. We are not in control of the forces of nature. It's arrogant to think we are. We can't control earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, and floods. When ice melts, by the way, it doesn't add to the water baseline. If you put ice cubes in a glass and fill it to the brim with water, you see what happens when it melts. It doesn't go over the brim. However, certain glaciers on ground areas, when they melt, they have increased the sea level in both Greenland and Antarctica. Here's our energy sources, which I briefly discussed in my previous chapters. Solar and wind technology requires fossil fuel to back them up. When the sun's not shining, the wind's not blowing, you need fossil fuels to back them up. And also, the government subsidizes these technologies by about 50%. All developing countries, China, India, Brazil, Africa, will continue to use wood, coal, and less clean oil for many decades. You can't just cut them off. Let's summarize some key points. The evidence is beyond any reasonable doubt that the universe was created as foretold in Genesis. Time, space, matter, energy, and all living things were created in 6 cosmic days. Order exists in the universe based on well-established, immutable laws and scientific constants. And we cannot control natural disasters. These are only a few samples of my chapter on the sciences. Let's get into the human factor. We have 3 dimensions here: the biological, physical, and spiritual. Life is made up of DNA codes, the genome, which shows that fertilized egg contains complete human. On the physical dimension, we have the universe, galaxies within the universe, stars within the galaxies, and Earth. So there are billions of galaxies and billions of stars within the galaxies and the Earth. and other Earths which are yet to be discovered. Within the spiritual dimension, we have the mystical, metaphysical, and rational mind. This is one of our early alleged humanoids discovered in South Africa in a cave in 2013. They put some skin on his bones, and he has a human-like face, feet, hands, a short ape-like torso, much smaller brain. I think they said it's the size of an orange. So early human history. After the last ice age 10,000 years ago, nomadic tribes roamed Africa and moved north to Europe and other countries 40,000 years ago. Hunter-gatherers became food producers and farmers. Adam and Eve appeared according to Genesis. The Bronze Age, ox-drawn plow. The Great Flood. I believe that flood was regional. It was not worldwide. Regional. Otherwise, how come we have kangaroos in Australia, etc., etc.? They did not get on the boat, did they? But from Noah's perspective, it looked like the entire world was flooded. The first written language appeared in 3400 BC. The invention of the wheel. And writing appeared in Egypt, 3000 BC. And Abraham and Sarah traveled to the land of Canaan. Homo sapiens had sex with Neanderthals, according to recent DNA research. And some of us have 3 to 5% Neanderthal DNA. Maybe that's why some of us are more aggressive than others. That's speculation. Now, sorry for the slide, it's a little awkward, but it shows that our lifespan declined from hundreds of years. Look at Adam, 930 years. And Noah lived 950 years. And then it dropped off to Abraham, a mere 175 years. Today, our lifespan is typically 75 to 110 years. Why the drop off? Well, according to Dr. Stanford in his book, it's caused by genetic mutations caused by sex within the family between parents and children and cousins, first cousins. This reduces the lifespan by 10 years approximately. That's his theory. Nevertheless, the world population has significantly increased to approaching 8 billion people by 2025. It will probably reach a peak of 9 billion by 2030 or 35. Then we got to worry once again about food, clean water, and survival. Nevertheless, in the U.S., fertility rates have declined substantially. As you can see, they're cut in half from 1910 to 2012, down to 63 per 100,000 women, U.S. births per 100,000 women. How will this rapid decline impact economics, culture, governance, and society? Those are key questions. Here are developments that extended life: the vaccinations, anesthesia, etc. As I said earlier, the priests, the friars, monks were fantastic botanists and other scientific people. Vaccines by Louis Pasteur. Those are very vital. Today we need a vaccine for other spreading diseases. Nitrogen, you might say, that helped expand the green revolution. to feed people. Our sanitation systems and refrigeration, improved life, x-rays, and penicillin. These and many other developments have doubled the lifespan since about 1800. So we reached 1 billion by 1804, and it took 123 years to reach the second billion. And between 1987 and 1999, we climbed another billion in a mere 12 or 13 years. Millions of people died from infectious diseases such as the Black Plague, typhoid, cholera. Here's a list of today's key diseases. Most of them have been reduced to heart disease and cancer, which are the two most significant problems. Diabetes is climbing. So let's talk about man-made disasters, such as wars. Here's all the abortions exceed all the deaths from the hot and cold wars of the world from earlier centuries. It's amazing. I believe that by 2020, 2021, we'll have a major new regional conflict. It will occur between radical Islam and Western Christian world. We must address our differences to prevent this. The only reasonable alternative to a spontaneous genome is a genome which arose by intelligent design. That's an awesome mystery, one worthy of our contemplation. See Dr. Sanford's book, Genetic Entropy. Being in life, key points. Life was not created by pure chance. The odds are too great. The laws of biology, chemistry, physics determine which biological structures can and cannot evolve. The double helix codes of DNA guides all forms of life. A fertilized egg contains the entire human genome. The Cambrian explosion. Entirely new species came into being at that time, about 540 million years ago. Microevolution theory is correct. Organisms do evolve and adapt, but there's no macroevolution. That is an unproven theory. Intelligent design and evolution are compatible. They shouldn't fight each other. They are compatible. Life is wonderful adventure, a journey, a process, a testing ground between human moral forces of good and evil. By reasoning, humans are capable of understanding the natural order of things established by the Creator. By free will, human persons are capable of directing themselves towards seeking what is true and good. By intelligence, human persons are endowed with knowledge, which is an outstanding manifestation of divine wisdom. And by faith, one recognizes the revealed message of the Creator, which urges them to do what is good and avoid what is evil. Our dreams and aspirations are always looking ahead to what will be, what may come. That's good, because we must somehow transcend ourselves. Unlike most of the universe, humans are thinking creatures with free will, consciousness, imagination, and eternal spirits or souls. Families and states have primary responsibility for the security, welfare, and education of all of its citizens. Love is doing what's good for the one you love, even if they don't like it. That's called tough love. We are rarely content with life. We are always seeking something more. That's how it should be. We should transcend ourselves. Without purpose, life is motion without meaning, without direction, without reason. And as Confucius said in the 5th century BC, when the heart is set right, then the personal life is cultivated. When personal life is cultivated, then the family life is regulated. When family life is regulated, then national life is orderly. And when national life is orderly, then there is peace in the world. Life is a one-time offer. Use it well. While 85% of intellectuals don't believe in God, let's consider that the 15% of the best scientific minds actually believe in a creator. Thanks for your attention. This is how you can order pursuit of wisdom.